Hello and welcome to The Soul of Business with Blaine Bartlett. I am your host, Blaine Bartlett, and as we're going to be exploring something today here, I want to just kind of set the stage a little bit. Sports in this country, sports around the world, is dominated by very established teams and very established leagues. And most people, when they think of football, soccer, basketball, take your pick, what comes to mind are the traditional players in those domains, in those sports. Soccer. You've certainly got the teams, Manchester United. I mean, you've got all of that stuff here in the U.S. with American football. You've got the NFL. And there's been some startups that have kind of kicked into play here. Up in Canada, we've got the Canadian Football League. And I'm mentioning all of that because there's a dominance in terms of how these sports are played, and there tends to be an expectation about how these sports unfold. And the players themselves kind of get wrapped up into a way of being that is not necessarily as fulfilling as it could be, I think, in some ways. And I know a number of the players, both in the NBA as well as the NFL. My guest today is Sener Korkusuz, who is the co-founder and CEO of the American Sevens Football League. And I'm just fascinated to have him on the show because they are, and I say they, American Sevens, is a new way of approaching this sport that we in America call football. I'm just fascinated by it because they're in their 8th season, and they're coming up on the 8th season of 2022. They got founded in 2014, and Sener is actually leading the charge here, I think, in a very fascinating way of reinvigorating something, and I mean really, literally reinvigorating something in a very interesting way that has a cachet for both the fans, but I think also more importantly for the players, for the athletes that are involved in it. So, Sener, I want to just welcome you to the show.
Thank you, Blaine. Great to be with you.
Yeah. Let's just kind of start by asking, I think, a very simple question. It's the one that I lead with all the time. And it's one that we're going to use to kind of inform the conversation about why you would be brazen enough to take on the NFL. Yeah, as an example here. Yeah, what's the soul of business? What does it bring up?
Great question. Great name for your show. Business should have a soul because in the end, you want to do good work for good people. That's always been one of my mantras. When I was feeling low, if ever, had something bad going on, other parts of my life, it actually turns out when you do good work for somebody, it makes you feel better. So the soul of business in general for me is doing good for good people.
All right. Now, I'm going to just take that definition and kind of open up our conversational box here. With that definition in mind, and I'm going to weave in some of your history here as we go through the conversation here, because you've got an association with Leigh Steinberg, with my very good friend and business partner, David Meltzer. There's a number of different people that come into play here. What was it that compelled you to start American Sevens football? And we'll talk a little bit about how it's different, obviously, here. But what compelled you to start this? Because you got to be crazy. Entrepreneurs by definition are crazy, but you got to be crazy to take on the NFL.
Well, so that was never the thought initially,
I know.
either. So, but the thought was, hey, how do we play football in a quick pickup format? And this game started recreationally in New Jersey. My business partner and co-founder, Ryan DePaul, founded the league. And for those reasons, partly to be able to get a pickup game, the sevens format was just easier, but also less equipment, no pads, no helmets, made the game a lot easier. So that was kind of the impetus for the sport. It existed prior to 2014, but that's when I saw it. And really, that's when I hooked into the business opportunity that was there. And that's when I went to my friend, my childhood friend. And I said to him, hey, let's partner together on this concept and let's make it as big as possible, a national and even international sport someday.
Yeah, and it is truly national right now. I mean, you've got
Yes,
franchises in a number of different cities. Okay, I mean, no pads, no helmets. It is football. It's not flag football. It is
right.
tackle football.
Yes,
So the athletes, I'm gonna, this is interesting for me here, but yeah, when you bring the athletes into this equation, I mean, if you look at traditional football, and I played Pop Warner. I mean, when I was growing up,
yeah, me too.
all that stuff, pads. I mean, and just kind of you walk around and you can't hardly move in some of this stuff. How are the athletes taking to the being that unencumbered and slash that unprotected in a tackle format with professional athletes?
And so, you ask a lot of people and they'll tell you this is how we played growing up. And
Yeah,
not only that, they'll tell you it was safer also. You didn't have anybody hitting head to head. And a lot of these other injuries that you see because you're more aware of your body. You're not going to smash your head into somebody because it's going to hurt you too. It's an obvious instinct. Scientifically, this is called risk homeostasis or risk compensation. When you're fully equipped with helmet and pads, that's why every single play in traditional NFL football, you have helmet to helmet contact. Those are the highlights when you have a big helmet to helmet hit. It's sad. It really is.
yeah, and the concussions that come out of that, and the brain injuries that eventually appear. It's almost a paradox that it would be safer to play without the protective gear. And I like that risk homeostasis. Yeah, I don't want to hurt myself. I honestly don't. So I'm not
Pretty
going to
simple.
I'm not going to lead with my head.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, and many football insiders, coaches, Mike Ditka, and a number of others know this. They've stated it. Take off the helmet, remove the invincibility. And so removing the shoulder pads and helmet has been a key of our game, plus other rule changes to further add to safety. We have the most amazing special teams, which is the most dangerous part of traditional football. We have a
Yep.
3-on-1 special teams. All the other leagues, and from college to Pop Warner to the NFL, are evaluating rule changes to make traditional football safer. We've cut to the chase. We've solved it. It's time to open your eyes out there.
Yeah. Now, that's the player side of it. How are the fans taking to this? Because again, I kind of go back to, I grew up with pads and helmets, and that was the expectation about, okay, if I'm going to watch a football game, I've got these armored gladiators out there doing what they're doing, and I go to this American Sevens game, and they show up and they look like me. Well, I mean, yeah, in my prime, they may have looked like me. But
It's amazing. You really get a sense that, hey, I could be out there. And you feel like one of the guys, and you see the emotion on our athletes' faces, and our athletes are tremendous. Many of them can be in the NFL if they had that opportunity, if the timing would have been right, if they didn't have an unfortunate circumstance or had to leave school or any number of other reasons. There's no doubt. And you see the NFL veterans who support us, Deion Sanders,
Mhm.
Cam Newton, Cam Chancellor, a number of others, celebrities like Snoop Dogg. These are guys who know football, obviously, are NFL guys, and they know our athletes are the real deal. And so now as we expand with owners across the country and new divisions, we're going to be raising the talent level on our athletes and bringing this thing to the next level, to the major leagues.
Now, this has been kind of a growth. I mean, and I was saying, it's been a passion, and it's been a passion project for you. I know a little bit about some of the history here. How have you managed? And this is an entrepreneurial question that I want my listeners to really pay attention to here, because again, entrepreneurs are crazy. Yeah, they go. Yeah, a true entrepreneur changes the world. That's they change the game, metaphorically, that they enter into. Elon Musk comes to mind on this. Steve Jobs certainly does come to mind. And with this sort of a play, you're changing the nature of how this particular sport is not only watched, but also how it's actually played from the athlete's perspective. So that idea of doing good work for good people, staying connected to that dream of making a difference. How are you as an entrepreneur, both personally but also with your team, keeping people connected to that as you have? And I'm assuming there's been some struggle here, as you've needed to fund this thing and get it viable, and it is viable now. What have you done, and how have you kept yourself above water? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, from a
You know
spirit standpoint.
what comes to my mind, and it's so cliche. You've heard it so many times. It's on the walls of the offices. Failure is not an option. And you say the entrepreneur has to be crazy, and that's right. When failure is not an option, you will go crazy to find a solution. I also liken it to failure is not an option. Why? Or else you die. You have to feel like you're going to die.
Yeah,
You'll find a solution. If you don't, then it wasn't meant for you. You were not really going to die, but if you need to feel like, if you're going to, when you're up against the wall, what does that mean? You have to survive.
you gotta.
And so that is a big, big part of it. The concept of you have to put your mind into, and I've read this in a number of different books. The one that sticks out to me is Napoleon Hill and some of
Thanks
his
for Rich.
conversations with Andrew Carnegie. So you have to create a frenzy within your mind before you even start, before you do anything. And it can take a while, and I might just not, sometimes it strikes you like lightning. That's what happened with me with this business. But still, I had to continue and nurture that frenzy that I'm not going to fail. I'm not going to let anything stop me. I'm going to make it happen.
That's an interesting notion. I was fortunate enough to be a part of the movie and the book Think and Grow Rich: The Legacy. And one of the things we talked about was the distinction between having an idea intellectually and having a frenzied idea, because it's the emotion that actually is the connective piece to this. If you think about the law of attraction, it is it's a secondary law. The law of vibration is the primary law, and for human beings, vibration is a function of emotion. It's not a function of intellect; it's a function of emotion. So, getting that frenzied state now it is truly important, because that's what keeps you in that field, that vibrational field where you begin to attract things that are matching that frequency structure. So, yeah, I would be interested here.
And by the way, when you say that, it's a lot of people, and myself included, it's still something to comprehend that. You almost have had to experience it to understand what you're talking about. And that's part of the difficulty with entrepreneurship sometimes, in trying to explain. Everybody wants to know the secrets to success. It's hard to understand when you actually hear them without having some context, some connection to it.
Connection to it. And so, when you got yourself on that frenzied state, vibrationally frenzied, can you give us a couple of examples of the unexpected resource that popped into your life that's what I needed right now. I couldn't have manufactured, creating that.
Yeah.
Any examples of where that's occurred? Because I want to just kind of bring some great folks. I mean, this isn't magic. This isn't wishful thinking. This is pragmatic stuff. This is actually how the universe works. You get yourself onto that frequency field in a frenzied state, and all of a sudden you've got stuff that's starting to pop in that you couldn't have dreamed it up.
We're on the same wavelength. I could tell this was a destiny to be speaking with you, because you're quoting from my mind. You're talking about manifestation.
Absolutely.
And when I thought to myself recently, if I ever do a show, I will only ask one question. Give me an example of something you've manifested, the most solid example. I'm not going to talk business. I said to myself, I'm going to reach down and pick up a 4-leaf clover from this grass. I picked it up. It was a 4-leaf clover. How do you like that? It's not magic, but it happened. And I have it. And I have it. I still have it. So I'll show you one day.
Yeah.
Example in business. I need a I need to build my team. I realize it's time to expand. My co-founder and I kind of got to the capacity of where we were at. We needed to now, like any entrepreneur and startup, continue to build the team. I went to an advisor of mine. Who should I go to? One word answer usually you get from your mentors and advisors. Go to the football people, go to the sports people. Within 3 conversations, I connected with the co-founder of the UFC, David Isaacs, and
Yep.
he joined our advisory board. And these last 2 years have been tremendous, huge growth. All of that happened between 3 phone calls and reaching out once to my mentor. But before that, it took quite a while to get to that point. I was pulling my hair out trying to figure out who is gonna be the right fit, and and it's just beautiful when it works out like that. It really is.
Oh, I mean, and you look at it and you kind of go, God, I couldn't. I mean, again, I couldn't have planned for this. But part of the key here is I'm listening to you is you keep yourself in motion, you keep yourself connected to that, and this is the power of the soul of business or the soul of anything. If I keep myself connected to the for the sake of what? Why is this important to me? Yeah, things start to actually vibrate in a very interesting way, and we're off to the races,
And
metaphorically.
and I'll tell you, you have to have patience. It could take a year. It could take 3 years. It could take 5 years. It might take a
Yeah.
day. It might take a month. But I'll tell you, numerous one of my deals and etc. that have taken years from the initial contact, especially in this business, because we had to prove and put the proof in the pudding before many people would start to take that second look with us. And now that they are, many years down the line, and you continue and you keep in touch. But when the timing is right, that's when the opportunity can happen.
Yeah, and that everything has a gestational uh, period to it. I mean, it really does. I can't I'll plant some seeds in my garden, and I cannot make them grow faster by saying, well, the clock says I'm hungry. Yeah, where's my food? Yeah. It will take as much time as it takes, and if I'm nurturing it and I'm tending to it, and I'm keeping connected to it, it works. But I have to keep doing the watering. I have to keep doing the fertilizing, and it will gestate in a time that's already appropriate. I've got a way of talking about this. It's already happened. I just haven't arrived, and that's essentially what you're speaking to.
That's
Because
not another thing I've said before. I said, on paper, in the future, we're already there.
yeah,
Uh, you know,
and this is just what it looks like as we're making that transition or that journey. This is what it looks like as I'm getting to that point. We're going to take a real quick break here, Sener, and when we come back, I want to go into another little area here, and that has to do with some of your history, just kind of how you got into this, because I think it informs what 7S is, and then I also want to talk about what you see. You got 2022 coming up. What do you see coming up as part of that success trajectory? So we'll take a real quick break.
all right. Oh,
Three.
it's something. I mean, it's just so great to hear your thoughts, Blaine. And now that I heard before you're friends with David, it makes sense. I mean, he is on another level as well.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, yeah. He calls me his mentor. We've known each other for
Oh,
years.
unbelievable! So you never know who you're talking to. Unbelievable. When
Yeah,
you
this.
when you were hitting on the wavelengths and the frequencies, that's a secret language of entrepreneurs.
It is. In this book that I've got over my shoulder here, Compassionate Capitalism, David and I co-wrote that. I had it about 90% done when I first met him, and it's kind of like, okay, you're coming into this.
Awesome.
So the way that he built Sports One, I've actually got that treated in the book as an example of a compassionately capitalistic company. And Leigh certainly was, Leigh Steinberg was part of that whole journey for David. So
Yep. Yeah. It's such an honor to, I'm a tech guy. I wasn't in sports. I knew of Leigh, and years passed by now, and I'm connected with David. I reach out to Leigh every now and then still. Hey, I want you to join A7FL. I want you to get involved. But you see, I'm talking to you, so I'm sure little word will pass to him eventually. So,
Yeah. Oh, you pretty much
yeah.
guarantee it will. Okay, we're going to come right back here. I want to thank you for listening. I want to also invite you right now to go to blainebartlett.com. And on that site, which is my personal website, you'll see services up on the top menu. I'd like you to click on Leadership Mastermind. Now, why I want you to do that is we have structured a mastermind program that is very unusual and it is very powerful. And by going onto that site and clicking that link, you'll be taken to a landing page that is an invitation to join this mastermind. It's a 52-week long exploration of what it takes to be a highly effective leader in today's fast changing environment. You won't regret it. And if you've been liking what you've been listening to on these Soul of Business podcasts, how does one become a leader that can keep connection to the soul of business? That's what we look at. That's what we're about in this mastermind program. So again, go to blainebartlett.com and click on the services link. And there you'll find the link to the Leadership Mastermind program. Look forward to seeing you there. Thanks for listening to this little commercial. And now back to our show. Hey, folks, welcome back. Talking to Sener Korkusuz, the co-founder and the CEO of American Sevens Football. Yeah, Sener, you're a tech guy. I mean, you didn't have professionally a sports background. So I know you said that you played ball when you were a kid and whatnot, but yeah, I'm interested just in your own personal migration here, and I'm talking about this because ideas come from all kinds of places, and a lot of folks that I coach and I actually work with get themselves in a box because they say, well, this is what I trained to be, this is what I went to school for, but they've got this little dream that they're kind of holding in abeyance because it doesn't match what they think they're supposed to do, or what their mom or dad said they were supposed to do. How did you migrate from being a tech guy into actually owning and running a sports league?
So that's part of that lightning strike that happened to me, and it wasn't something that took that long. I was pretty successful in my tech company, and I was looking for my next opportunity. That was the impetus of it. And so I was evaluating different opportunities and different contacts that I had that I could potentially bring value to and bring something to the table. Out of all of the things I looked at, my old friend, my childhood friend, when we played Pop Warner together, we went to high school together. We played this no pads tackle football together before it had a name. You know, it was just kill the man with the ball. And
I played that game.
Everybody knows that by different names. And so you know, I was basically sitting, meditating, thinking to myself, what am I going to do next? And it struck me like lightning. This football league was going to be what, you know, the biggest upshot, the biggest opportunity. And I knew that Ryan, my old friend, he needed my help. I knew he wouldn't succeed without me. All of these information was just coming to me, and I knew it, and I knew it. And so then I went about actually making a partnership with him, and that took months. It wasn't something the next day I picked up, let's do this. All right, boom. No, yeah, he was doing it himself for many years. He wasn't about to just give away and start a partnership. The last thing I did say to him before we formed the deal, I said, because I got so bold, I knew I had to do this like nothing before. I said, he will not succeed without me. And I didn't tell him that. Eventually I had to. And I told him, I said, I know you won't succeed without me. We're friends, so it was a little easier for me to talk like that with him. And we formed a partnership, and the rest is history. So that lightning moment, and ever since then, I've tried to keep that with me. I remember where it happened. It's like I could put myself back in that place and try to remember that feeling, because you lose it. Yes, you lose it, and you get you get in the weeds, and you try to get back out and get the perspective. And that's where I get my perspective, where it hit me. This is my destiny. Nothing will stop me.
I love that story, and particularly I pay attention to. I keep going back to that origin story because that's where the juice was, and
It is, yeah,
yeah, and that's where the frenzy was
yeah,
in
yeah,
your work.
yeah.
So and jumping ahead to 2022 here, this is the eighth season. Um, you've been successful. What do you envision? And I'm going to just kind of take where we're at right now and run the ball forward here, so to speak, in the next. Let's just say the next 5 years. So by 2027, what do you see happening with the league?
I see us within 5 years, maybe sooner, as a true major league. So we're growing into a professional major league sport. Currently, our athletes are pay to play, in the tradition of many non-major league sports across the country. So we'll be having teams across the country, hundreds of teams, in maybe 32 divisions. By the time we're done, we have 8 right now.
Hmm.
Okay, hundreds of teams in the end, with um, with with in the end, our goal, our athletes being paid to play a major league sport. And so the entertainment value of our sport is what's going to drive us there. We already have proven that the athletes love the game. They love to play. This is America's most favorite sport. Big hits, big action, and actually it's a little safer, elevates our athletes' safety in football. The fans love the sport. They love it. They're all over, even internationally. And now they're going to have a team in their city. We're going to take it to the next level. We have investors all over the country, over 700 of them, who were fans and then they became investors, helping us to further expand and grow faster. So I see all of those things helping to fuel us to get us there. Um, there's just so much opportunity in this platform. It's all built to promote our athletes. That's the point. So the American Idol of football will be showing the stars across the country.
I love that. I lived in Australia for a while, back in the when was that? The late 80s, I guess it was. Yeah, it was. It was in the late 80s, 87, 88, right in that time frame. And I got hooked on Aussie rules football. Uh, how is, in the entertainment value was just off the charts, and the stadiums were filled. How does American Sevens differ from Aussie rules football?
Yep. So we're still traditional football, tackle football. We
Okay.
are 7-on-7 instead of 11s as in traditional football. And many rugby formats are sevens also. So
Yeah,
this is
they
an
are.
international format, which helps us as we expand internationally. It also helps us as we expand nationally. Less guys, less equipment, just more affordable and effective and efficient for us. Um, Other key rule changes in traditional football: you kick the ball. We eliminated kicking. We throw off the ball. We throw it. So obviously the big difference, the number one difference between football and rugby, any kind of football, is we have the forward pass. In rugby, you don't
Right.
have
You don't have that,
this.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I played rugby in university, so yeah,
yeah. So we're
yeah.
still your traditional football rules. We look like football. We walk like football. We talk like football, but we're American Sevens football.
I love that distinction. Um, yeah, you got associated with Leigh Steinberg, and Leigh is a legendary in the sports arena as an agent, the super agent. I mean, Jerry Maguire was modeled after him, the movie. And
I always try to use his line: "Show me the money."
show me the money, exactly. Uh, So I bring this up because Leigh was very interesting in terms of how he built his agency, and it had to do with anybody that he signed. He made sure that there was a social impact piece that his athletes were actually paying attention to. How are you giving back? Yeah, have you built that into the way that you're working with your athletes right now?
That's a great point. It's something that's always been on the forefront of our minds. Our athletes, for the most part, are focused on playing football. That's just ingrained within them. But to have the opportunities available, but what are those opportunities and what make the most sense? That's what we're still working to come to.
Yeah.
So between business opportunities, community opportunities, and other ways to give back, we need to start to solve that equation there. Do we have a program in place right now? Loosely, we do. So in all of the communities that we work within, we try to provide as much to that community as possible. For one, putting on a great event, and welcoming the community, and then any other opportunities we have, we're more than interested to be involved with. So whether it's Baltimore or San Diego or Orlando, we're now going to be in Cincinnati. We want to make that a bigger part of our mission as we move forward. And I encourage anybody who's interested in watching in any of our cities that we're in, please reach out to us if we could be involved to help.
That, which is, yeah, actually was going to be my next question here. How do people find out more about American Sevens? How do they get in touch with you if they've got an interest, or actually, if they'd even like to invest in a franchise?
Yeah, A7FL.com. You can find all of your answers there. For one, how to be a player and register your interest for when the registration opens up. For two, how to be an owner and own one of our divisions. There's still an opportunity. The registration window has closed, but we're still considering latecomers to the table. We're now moving into 8 divisions this next season. So anybody who's interested, reach out, contact us at A7FL.com.
A7NFL.com. And I'll put
A7FL. A7FL.
A7FL.
Correct. Perfect.
A7FL. Okay. A7 Football League. A7FL.com. That'll be in the show notes for sure. So, folks, yeah, you're going to want to take advantage of this. I want you to go to the website and check it out. It's really fascinating. And, Sener, one of the, as an entrepreneur, entrepreneurs change things. That's what they do. And hopefully they change them for the better. So my question here as we just kind of close this thing out is, how are you leaving it better than you found it, whatever it is? How are you leaving it better than you found it?
More opportunities for players to be noticed. That's the end game. There's just the NFL with 32 teams and nothing in between right now. It's just a big black hole for so many athletes out there. And this is a very positive outlet. Everybody knows sports is a positive outlet. We're just connecting the two. There's a hole and we're filling it.
There's a hole and we're filling it. That's that's probably the best definition of an entrepreneur I've ever found. There's a hole and I'm filling it. There we go. Folks, you've been listening to The Soul of Business with Blaine Bartlett. My guest today is Sener Korkusuz, the co-founder and the CEO of American Sevens Football, A7FL.com. Check out my website, BlaineBartlett.com, and you'll find a lot of stuff there. One of the things I'd like to point you towards is there's a free book, ebook there that organizes around creating high levels of emotional engagement in your employees. Employee engagement is kind of the holy grail of most organizations, and this is one of the things that A7FL, American Sevens, is actually doing with their players. I got a hunch that they are absolutely rabidly passionate about playing with you. So again, Sener, thank you so much for being a wonderful guest. I've loved this conversation. And folks, check it out.
I loved it as well. Looking forward to connecting with you afterwards.
Absolutely, my friend.
Take
you. Care.
Take care.
Folks, you bet. And until next time, folks, just enjoy the rest of your week. Take care.